Any other questions at the moment about anything? Or vent, if you feel like venting, go for it.
Hi, Charles. I have a question.
Yes.
For the elevator pitch, are we going to like talk about our own part in the assignment or as a whole process?
Oh, you'd be talking about, no, you'd be pitching your business. Yeah, okay, understood your question.
Yep.
I will wrap that into what we're going, well, this hour or so will be dedicated to this assignment. If there isn't any other questions about anything else, then we'll go through the whole assignment.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
Okay? No worries. If there's any, is there any questions at all that's not about the elevator pitch? Feel free to use a microphone, by the way. It's always good.
Hey, Charles.
Hello.
Yeah. Anyway, I was looking at the business plan and I'm just having trouble trying to figure out how to discuss with my group about the business plan. No one has said anything about it yet. Maybe it's because everyone is busy. But I'm the group leader, so so it's probably my responsibility to at least do something. But I was looking at the business plan. I'm thinking that we have to type in a minimum of 3,000 words to pitch for our business, I think.
Yes.
And part of the 3,000 words, it's essentially sort of like an argument for why our business should be invested. So I'm thinking with whatever we went through with the device, it doesn't seem, I don't think there's much of a large market for it. I don't think, like, you know, evidence-wise, I don't think there'll be much online that will say, yes, thermometers or small handheld thermometers are in high demand right now or something like that. So I'm just trying to figure out
Okay, so essentially, if I understand your concern,
I'm just not confident about the entire thing. I think I'm more worried about screwing over my entire group, actually.
Okay, well, if they haven't gone back in touch with you, then perhaps that is going the other way around, because the group needs to also participate, not just yourself. But if I understand your concern about the business, is that perhaps you don't have a strong business case at the moment. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So in the marketing rubric, there is a dedicated section there, I think it's about 6 points by memory, about the business case. Now, I feel, and since I'm marketing, I'm telling you, is that if you feel that you do not have a strong business case at this point in time, I would include a reflection element in your report. Also have it in your executive summary, but in your report as well, you should have some sort of reflection item where you would say, this is probably not the most strong business case at this point in time. A, that's your A. Your B, why it's not specifically, why it's not a strong business case. And then C, what needs to change or happen in order for your business to be, or your business case to be a more stronger one. So those are the 3 things that I would include in some kind of reflection statement at the end of your report, and also include that in your executive summary. So right now, you've done your due diligence, you've gone through the entire process. It's not quite good at the moment. So you need to identify why and what needs to happen in order for that to be turned around. And then that will bolster, I'll consider that to be bolstering the argument for a stronger business case.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Yeah, see.
Oh, it does make sense. I'm just trying to figure out what can I do to plan out the entire 3,000 words. I mean, I understand that my group mates are the ones that are actually doing some of the work, but I'm also trying to figure out if any of this is possible. I mean, how do I make it possible?
3,000. I mean, you're right about having to do at least 3,000 words. Yeah.
The market rubric, well, it says a content assignment specification, minimum word count 3,000 words, excluding references. So I have a pretty simple device, which is not really in our demand.
Yeah,
and I can't really just tell, and I can't just simply tell my girlfriend, hey, figure this out by yourself.
Yeah, no, well, okay. Any issues with your project, it should be discussed within the entire project team. Yeah, that's just one of those issues. It's, as students, it's not always done that way. I perfectly understand. I would worry less about getting to that 3,000 word limit than actually answering the questions, or answer the criteria first. Like, answer the entire criteria. Okay. First, and see, I have an issue setting a word minimum. I don't like them because that leads to being issuing over both reports, in this instance, a business plan. Okay,
so basically, I don't have to work. Sorry, I don't mean. Sorry, I'll let you finish talking because I'm also looking at parties' submission requirements. There's page requirements, 8 to 10 pages in 12-point font, and minimum word count 3,000 words, and that's the bit that really slapped me. So,
I don't like it. Okay, I'm telling you right now, because I'm grading it, and well, I should be grading it, I should say. I think that this marking rubric's been a copy and paste from other units. Okay. So these things happen to be like that. So they're shared around as well as across institutions. My argument right now is address the criteria first. If you can do so in short, succinct, and in the manner that's actually done well, high quality, then that's actually a good thing. See, I would argue that. I mean, if there was an issue, if you were graded down for any reason for not having 3,000 words, I will go into any forum and defend your report, as long as you do the right thing, address the criteria, okay, and do so in faith, in a well-articulated manner, okay. All that should come first. See, the way I've always done my assignments at university, I answered all the questions first, and then worried about length and style and everything else afterward. Make sure you do the work first, because if you don't do the work, the 3,000 word minimum has actually no relevance because you didn't answer the question. You have to do those things first.
Oh, I understand that. I'm just trying to make sure that if I go around discussing with my group, XYZ, and maybe provide feedback, and so they can also provide me feedback. At least I have an idea of whoever's marking this, where they're coming from. You know, what do they worry more about word count, or do they worry about what do I have, or are they more interested in a well thought out argument for a made up device? So.
Yeah, well, this is for a business. It's not just about the device. It is a business plan to potentially give to an investor to invest in your business. Okay. So, at the moment, the intention is that I'll be grading it, and I'm telling you, and telling you the way I will look at it is I look at quality. I don't care if you say something in 1,000 words or you say something in 50 words. If you say what you need to say in a manner that's articulated well, I will consider that to be superior to somebody who manages to get the 3,000 word minimum and then just give me, quite frankly, trash. Okay? I care more about quality. Focus on doing it well before you focus on doing a lot of it.
Can I have a comment, please, John?
Okay, thanks, sir.
Oh, okay. Don't call me sir. You just lost your high distinction right there.
I mean, Mr. Marriott.
Yeah.
Manager Marriott? Tutor Marriott? Charles Marriott?
Let's call me Charles. Charlie, if you want to be casual.
I'll just call you manager. You told me you were an EB manager, so there.
Oh, well, that was a long time ago. Yeah, Domino's, EB, fantastic furniture, Craig Clark's. But Liam had something to say, so Supreme Leader, I like that.
I'd just like to add something to my list. I made a comment while you've been talking, so you might want to read it. The actual business plan is actually not a deliverable in the first instance to an investor. It's a deliverable to you and the team. It's a self-deliverable before you even contemplate pitching before an investor. Now, when you consider the overwhelming majority of startups fail, the major reason being poor business planning, followed by wrong timing and a few other things after that. The fact that you have identified you do not have a strong market case is a result of your marketing analysis. That is the whole point of going through marketing analysis. If you go back to an earlier lecture, and I was asked to show it in a previous tutorial, probably not for this, this cohort, but I had a feedback loop from marketing back into idea generation. The reason being your marketing is often when you start to reveal whether or not the idea you think is great really is great or not for the market. If the result of your due diligence in marketing is this is not such a strong business case, that's a fantastic thing because it's telling you you probably don't want to invest much more time and effort in this at this particular time. So as a deliverable to yourself, to your own organisation, if you like, you would be summing up your initial assumptions. You've tested it with your marketing analysis, and that has revealed some of your assumptions may not have been valid. That's excellent information because if more business startup owners did that, it would save them a lot of time and angst in the future. So I would turn my business report. You'll notice in the marking rubric, it does say investor or client, because it's not only mainstream investors who invest, it can be one of your early adopters. You're contemplating going to an early adopter to get funding from them, probably in exchange for a period of time with exclusivity. So if your analysis is showing this is not something that's going to really turn the market over, put that in your business plan and pitch that back to your client. After due diligence, we recommend not proceeding with this. If you're talking more about a small niche market, that's very different, Melissa. A small niche and a big population still comes to good business and a lot of money to be made if you're niche. So don't confuse niche with bad market prospects. You need to, as a group, you and your group need to really determine that well. Are we talking about small numbers, hence we think it's a bad marketing proposition? The question I would ask, with those small numbers, just how secure would that market be for us and our business? Would we have exclusivity for a sustained period of time? Can we pull others over into our market? Can we use a pull model to get more to come over? Do we have other applications for our said thermometer in other areas that could help us to, if you like, osmosis ourselves through the marketplace? A lot of serious considerations come up. But the fact that you found a negative, or it came across as a business negative, you can turn that into a positive by either avoiding going forward with it or asking the question, is the niche we've got, although it's small, is it something that can sustain our business? Can we move sideways into other areas we hadn't considered before? That's what I'd be asking myself.
At some point along that line, if I may also interject there, at some point along the line, part of this process, you also need to determine what is a success in terms of a successful business. Do you actually have to have the lion's share of the market, or can you be sustainable with a lower share of the market? Liam in the Q&A session was mentioning the sorry, this is a different class there. But the cola market, you have the Coca-Cola and the Pepsi. They both together had the lion's share of the cola market. But how many other brands of cola are there? And how would you determine whether or not they're successful? If you only have 0.5% of the market, okay, that could still be a successful business venture, considering the market will be a multi-billion-dollar global market. So you probably need to identify what is a success. Well, you have to identify that anyway in order to determine whether or not you have a strong business case. So what is successful as a bar of where you need to get to in order to determine whether or not to go forward with it. So as part of your process, you need to determine for yourselves what is or is not a successful venture. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I
Cool.
think I have a better idea of how to handle this ish.
No worries. I understand that the marketing rubric says 8 to 10 pages. Just coming
That's
from
really
the
just a submission, so
Yeah, I understood, but
yeah.
But sorry, what I was going to say is, if you include pictures in your documents, you have my permission to go over that page limit by a maximum of 2 pages if you include pictures in your documents. This is my way of encouraging you to include them. Pictures are awesome things. You know, they speak 1,000 words. We all heard that quote. But when it comes to your innovation, I don't know what it is. I need to vision it. So if you include an image of some sort or images, even if it's off a previous product that's already existing on the market, you can say, this is what exists now, and this is what we're going to change. Well, I would include it at the relevant areas as opposed to appendices, because if you're talking about, let's say you're making a smart trolley, if you're talking about trolleys and saying, this is an existing trolley, we're going to do these things to it, we're going to make these additions to it, perhaps it's good to actually have that image there so I can reference what you're saying to the image, so I can visualize it, okay? Now, if you include in-text images, please make sure it's formatted correctly. That is, you have the text go around it properly, rather than just having text, image, text, image. It doesn't look as professional, in my opinion. If you have text wrapping, make sure you do your referencing, etc. Okay, but you just need to be smart about it, because you are conveying information as well, and what is the best way for the reader to absorb the information. So I believe that images can definitely bolster any message that you are saying, particularly in the innovative space. So if you are going to include several images, feel free to go a maximum of 2 pages over that limit.
Can I just add to that, if you have any image, table, anything like that, diagram, make sure it has a caption. Don't only describe it in the text, put a little box under the image, or not a box, at least some text under it that is a caption that describes the image. So if that image were cut out of the document, it would still have a description.
Yeah, so it could be like competitor's trolley, for instance, or something of that nature. That's actually descriptive.
The other point is, if you've got large image or image sets, an appendix is always welcome in a document. Yep. When you read through the document, it should be free flow. If you get to material that is, let's just say, more difficult than usual to read and get through, put it into an appendix.
Okay, so no worries. Any other questions about anything? Can we only sign up under T2 for the elevator pitch? Okay, all right. So if there isn't any other questions at the moment, then perhaps we should move on to the pitches. Okay, Hamid?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Beautiful. Yeah, so under the submission requirements, it says each section should clearly identify the corresponding contributor or contributors. So should we write the group members' names next to each section, or what does that mean exactly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so just put that in parentheses after the title of the section. Okay. So, if there are no questions about the business plan, I suppose, Len, we probably should go into the elevator pitches.
We should. Can I just mention one thing on the business plan, and it's a tendency that I'd like to address. Many a submission from a student team will include a series of headings with headings following straight thereafter. Whenever you put a heading, make sure you put some sort of introductory material, even if it's only 1 paragraph, before you mention the next heading. Everything should have relevance and it should be introduced. And commonly, people do not include words. They'll have an appendix where they'll present a table without a caption or without an introduction. They'll have a heading 1 followed by 1.1 without anything in between. If you've got a heading, follow it up with some descriptive comment before anything else. That's a common failing in recent articles that I've read through the university. If it's worth having a heading, describe what's to follow. In this section, we provide blah, blah, blah. It gives the reader a sense of flow. Anyway, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, cool. Might be a way to get to that 3,000 word minimum. All right, so moving on to the pictures. Let's make sure everybody knows that it's up there. Liam, do you want to repeat yourself?
For the sake of Melissa, definitely. So the point was, Melissa, in many a composition or article or report, people tend to put headings followed by headings without anything in the middle. If it's worth putting a heading, it's worth putting a short introduction or a description of what is contained within that section or subsection. So be reluctant to have a heading following a heading without an introduction. So if you've got heading 1, so let's say heading 1 is architectural breakdown of invention. If you go straight into 1.1, between heading 1 and 1.1, you might want to put something like, in this section, the invention comprises X many components. They are ... A, B, C, D, E, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In what follows, we go into further detail about each one. Heading 1.1, whatever part of the architecture that is. Heading 1.2, whatever part of the architecture that is. So it should flow. To simply have a heading followed by a heading is very poor writing. Or at least it used to be regarded as such. I don't know how well the university is promoting this.
I can tell you that report writing was brought up in the course advisory group.
Yeah. The issue is a good report flows. You only need to read it one time and it's clear. You, the group, might understand all these headings after headings, but your general reader won't. So help them out.
Cool. Alrighty. So, with the elevator pitch. Pardon me, sorry. So so if you go to assignments, you should be familiar. The elevator pitch, it's now visible for everybody. If you go into there, okay, this is the assignment for the elevator pitch. Unlike previously, we actually had a document here that we can download and read the background to the elevator pitch. But what I have done is uploaded it to here so we can all look at it on Blackboard. Okay, so these are the instructions that if you click on that link, you'll download. I'll just magnify it for myself. Okay, elevator pitch instructions. Okay, an elevator pitch. I put this to the students. Have you heard of the term an elevator pitch before? Could I get a show of hands if you... let me reverse it. Can I have a show of hands of those? Okay, Melissa, I was going to reverse it. Can I show your hands of those who haven't heard of an elevator pitch? Okay. So it's actually quite a few who haven't heard of an elevator pitch. Okay, so in entrepreneurial circles, it's actually quite a common term to use. Well, I wouldn't call it stalking. I wouldn't necessarily call it stalking. So if we picture in our minds, say if we were in New York, for instance, we're just going around and, you know, we're pitching our ideas at potential financiers, etc. But we're going back to our hotel room and we've got to go in the elevator in the ground floor. I mean, you need to get up to floor 200. So we go into the elevator and shortly thereafter, Elon Musk comes in the elevator with us. And it's just Elon Musk and ourselves. Now, as the story goes, within that time of going in that elevator and exiting the elevator at floor 200, you have an opportunity to pitch a business idea to Elon Musk. Yeah, it's not taking my fire example either. I'll just It's easy to pronounce right now. It can be Branson if you want to, or Gates, or anybody, whoever's your favorite, okay? But the time that press the elevate button to get more time. But the point is that is the duration that you have to pitch your business idea. Now, it has, in theory, or has been said to have worked on occasion. We have reservations of whether or not that actually works. At best, it will probably give you an interview. Please contact me. Call my people to arrange an appointment type thing. But the skill in being able to pitch a complex idea in such a short amount of time is actually quite valuable to have. So let's abstract it a little bit further and consider going to an event. So whether it's an entrepreneurial event, or whether you could be just an employee schmoozing with your local professionals. Having the skill to pitch a complex idea in 90 seconds is it's a pretty hard thing to do, and those who are proficient at it tend to do quite well for themselves. And I'll actually say, if you heard of Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's actually perfected this as an educator. He's able to put across complex problems into short 30-second spills that the news media can use and quote on. And he's actually built a career out of doing that, being able to bring in a complex problem or series of complex problems and being able to describe them in reasonable amount of detail in a short amount of time. So yes, it's good for business, but the skill itself is actually quite good to have elsewhere. So here we are. We're encouraging you to do one. And looks like Liam is causing a bit of a thing, is he? Okay. A little bit better. All good. So for our assignment, okay. So at the end of the day, this is something that you need to do, and you'll be graded on it. It is an individual assignment. You need to do it yourself. Okay. So in the booking sheet, we do ask you to book as a group, so we can grade the entire group subsequently to each other. But it is your own group. Your own individual submission. And I encourage you not to refer to any other group member's presentation. This is self-contained. This is only you, just you. Okay. So the format is a max. So this is the maximum amount of time that we have calculated and will give you. So your actual pitch is 90 seconds. Go over that and you'll be cut off. We'll shut you down, as it were, because we have so many to get through. We can't have people who spend 5 minutes doing a 90-second pitch. Okay. So sorry, if I get the finger out, there we go. This is the maximum time that you will have. 30 seconds for you to set up. It should not take that long. 90 seconds, that is a maximum. Now we have this Q&A component. Now this Q&A component is expected of those who aren't of your group. So if another group is presenting, it is expected of those in the audience to offer a question or two about the pitch. So you could ask questions like, how long will it take to get your return on investment? Except, those kind of questions. I'd ask you not to be combative with the questions or try to defeat the presenter. Ask genuine, honest questions. And we've dedicated 1 minute. So it's probably just one, maybe two questions in that time. Okay, but the maximum amount of time to pitch is 90 seconds. Okay, so you can click on the link to get to the spreadsheet. It's somewhat similar to the previous one. I would ask for you to put your uni ID numbers next to your name as well. That's for me, so I can ensure that I'm giving the right grade to the right person. Yes, there are a lot of easy ways to force an evacuation from an elevator. I won't go into that because I will digress for a long time.
Charles, just on that point, I was looking to interject. On the timing part, the one won't go over 90 seconds. What I'm proposing with the teams that I have, I'm going to let them go up to 110 before I actually mute them, and I can mute because I've got the power here on the blackboard, but you'll be picked up for being over time because the marking criteria don't make any allowance for us cutting you off. It lets you go over time if you read the marking criteria. So my attitude is, if you go over 90, I'll let you go to 110, then I'll cut you off, but I will acknowledge you went over time.
Yes. Yeah, essentially, yes. Minister says, can you answer a question with BS? My first answer to that is no, because the question should go to your business, which it is assumed that you have done your research and some due diligence into. If the question is obviously difficult and falls outside the realm of what we've done, then and you answer that question intelligently, I will consider that a plus.
Can I interject a little bit there, Charles?
Yep.
It's an interesting question because I've yet to hear a pitch that isn't full of BS to some extent. People exaggerate. So my recommendation, you may have heard it before, this is for your futures. If ever you're in a team presentation as opposed to an individual presentation, when people are talking, keep your eye on the team. That's where you'll get the intel of whether what they're telling you is misleading or not, because the team who is not presenting is generally honest and probably as surprised as you would be if they heard the BS.
Okay, so moving down to this next point here, practice. Obviously, for a lot of people, presenting is quite difficult. I had troubles myself to begin with. Practice, and more practice is generally the way to go. We have set up 5 virtual rooms for you to A, practice, and to B, test your technology to make sure it also works. So feel free to utilize those rooms in an effort to practice your pitches. It goes into content. Okay, you can watch your YouTube video. That's cool. I haven't seen that yet. So feel free to do so when you want to. I actually want to go talk about the visual aids. It says please prepare a few slides, no more than 2. We acknowledge, well, I certainly do, if you're doing an elevator pitch in an elevator, you probably don't have access to some sort of screen to present your slide to whoever you're presenting it to. So we do acknowledge that, but this course also has to be accredited, and accreditor asks us for the student to provide evidence of their engagement. So this is more of a tick that box, as it were. In terms of advice in what to have for your presentation slides, this one here says no more than 2 slides. I would argue that you only need 1. Now that's because you're not selling slide decks. You're not selling a PowerPoint presentation. You're selling yourself first and then your business second. Now, I say that you're selling yourself first is because investors don't invest in business so much as they invest in you. In a startup, the person who is starting the startup is what's being invested into. So if you have a glitzy, glamoury slide deck, the investor's not going to be looking at you. They'll be looking at slide deck, and that's not what you want. You actually want them to be looking at you because you are the one who is selling. You're selling yourself and your business idea. Yeah. Well, that's actually another one, Zami. I remember one of my first sales jobs. Please sell me this pen. It's actually quite a textbook approach to interviewing. I don't like it myself. There are other tools. Yeah. Yeah, it is good. It is a skill that you can do, but I wouldn't use a pen. I actually use something a little bit more abstract, which I'll deliberately bring into an interview. But yeah, essentially it. But when it comes to a pitch for a startup, the investor is going to be investing in you. Okay. So I would argue one slide. Okay, so the delivery, also sessions, we're doing it online, and Q&A, as I mentioned before, we'll ask for students of groups who aren't presenting to ask a question of two of each one. Okay, so that's the document for our pitches, but then we also have the marking rubric. So let's quickly go through that so everybody is well aware. I'll share my screen. Okay, so this is the marking rubric that we will be grading you on, essentially. So the pitch that you've seen in that document needs to conform with this marking rubric. Okay. I recommend an attention grabber first instance to generate interest. Yeah, an icebreaker is always a good thing to do.
Can I give an example, Charles?
You're going to talk about mosquitoes?
In my own work, I work in desal or purifying water, and I started a pitch, and it went something along the lines of, do you realise that half of everyone who's ever lived, half of all those people died as a result or in relation to a mosquito. So this small little mosquito has resulted in over 50% of the deaths of history. And if you think of that, that's a lot of people, 50% to a mosquito. And it was to do with unclean water and mosquitoes breeding and carrying virus or parasite and infecting other things and killing people. But it was an attention grabber. I was talking about filtration and cleansing of water. I started with a fact about mosquitoes. It grabbed the attention. So what I propose to you is start your pitch, if you can, with an attention grabber. Just a thought.
Lachlan, do you have your hand up? Did you have a question, or was that up from a while ago? Nope, your hand's down. Okay, cool. Oh. Sakar. No? Okay, all good. In the pitch, we just talk about our business plan and why you should invest. Yeah, invest or buy the product. Yeah, exactly. You're pitching your business is a general intent of an elevator pitch. You're generally pitching to a potential investor. Okay, so if you click on this link, that will open up the page, similar to what we had before. Where were we? 130. So this top one here, so for the undergrads, for instance, this top one, undergrad session A, that is, I will be grading these ones. Undergrad session B, this is Demuth, who will be grading these ones. Okay, just so you know, that's the breakup between the two. But I ask you, like Ethan has here, and Brendan, to include your uni ID there as well, just so I can ensure that I got the right person and I haven't missed and matched names. Okay. Cool. So content. So we've gone over pretty much the content, what you need to do. So you're knowledgeable of the content includes an engaging introduction, like Liam just gave us, a detailed body, and a memorable conclusion. Okay, so that's just content. It's about your business plan. Have a good punchy intro, and then have a solid body, and then go out with a bang in the conclusion, essentially, to get your 5 points out of that. Now, this one here is quite hard. You probably hear me say arms, R's, etc. I have a habit of doing that for a very long time, particularly when I'm going off the cuff, which is what I'm doing now. I haven't prepared any presentation for you. This isn't a prepared spiel that I've given. I actually haven't read this until a couple of hours ago. Okay, but when you are doing a presentation, yes, we've called this an elevator pitch, but you have time and you have forethought to develop your 90-second pitch. We've been asked to grade you on that. Okay, yes. Okay, so that's what the flow means. And
Excuse me,
usually,
Joel,
yes,
just on that, do you just want to go into quick grade and just show them, just open up the first one? It's probably, I'm trying to think who it is. I can't remember. Just open it up and show them what we can click on, because we only have those numbers available. So if you go into quick grader, so if you actually
you want to do that?
yeah, show them that. I think it's video is the first one, but she's got no grade, so we're not violating. Just show the speed
okay.
we actually do.
Okay, so did that speed grader here? Yep.
Yeah, speed grade or quick grade or whatever they call it these days. The first one, I thought was, oh no, it's not. It's you've got another. Just go to the right there and expand that so you can see it. Yeah, if you hover over any of those and click on it, just click. You won't save it. See how it automatically selects the pre-selected grades. So we are not marking analog. We're marking discrete. They are the only numbers available to us. So if it comes out a bit chunky, this is why. But this enables us to mark in the time we are given.
Okay, that's the best I can do. You want it zoomed?
Perfect. No, it's perfect.
Well, some else to zoom might have a small monitor. I've got like a 27-inch, so I'm like sitting back from it. But cool. All right, yeah. So essentially, we click on it, and then that's what you get. So there's no fudging. It's actually the technical term in Canvas. You can't fudge in between the two. It's either that or that or that or that.
And it also means that there's no, what's the word for it? There's no you getting back to us to convince us to bump you up a few marks.
Yeah.
There's no negotiation.
So you have to go from like credit to DI, HD. So you have to, so if you want a grade, then you need to actually provide evidence as to why you'll get such a significant increase. Okay, because that evidence is required. Okay, so I will. Is EJaz in the room? That's not your score. Sorry, mate. Okay. So elevate pitch. So we've done content. We've done flow. A pause can be a good thing, particularly if you want to get a point across. So you can make a point, have a bit of a pause just to contemplate or to dramatize your point. Confidence and attitude is a good one. I like the attitude bit. I'll go into that. It is how you come across. You are trying to sell your business idea, or even your product. If you come across sounding like the stereotypical scientist who talks in a slow, monotone voice, it doesn't come across. You're not excited about your own product. Okay, you need to come across. You need to have passion, enthusiasm. Exactly. It's like, oh, I'm showing my age now, but it's like the scientist in the Wonder Years. You know, it is a very slow, monotone voice. And you're not going to sell anything like that, particularly nowadays, and particularly with technology. If you don't have full of energy, a bowing personality, and outward going personality, good luck trying to get some funding. Visual aid, we just went through that. That is your slide or slides. If you want to do a couple, that's cool. And of course, go into, this is what Liam was referring to, the time. So I said, 90 seconds, which is this one here. Okay, so 9 seconds is good. So within, say, 80 to 90, 95 sort of thing. Speech is two minutes short. Yeah, see, this is the copy and paste. Read this as if you kept within your like 80 to 90 seconds, it's good. If you go too high or too low, you will degrade your marks. But if your speech is 2 minutes short in a 90-second speech, I don't know what's going on. It sucks time away. Yeah. All right. So this is our marking rubric. So it is an individual. Everybody does their own pitch for their group's business. And it's best not to refer to a prior presenter's presentation. That's not what this is. This isn't like an update like we did previously. This is his own individualized entity. It is an individual assessment. I am assessing you, or Liam is assessing you, and nobody else when you present. Okay, so Liam has a 30-year-old partner and likes to travel in circles. And okay, that's all good.
Well, I detected some age discriminators there coming from the likes of Graham, who I put it to the cohort. We're within 1 decade of each other, I would suspect, Graham. No, what I was meaning there, folks, was although you might talk to your peers with a certain choice of words, take account of the point that others may be in other generations and they might not be used to those words. So if you write me an email that says, "Hey dude, I want," I'm probably going to go back and say, "By the way, you might want it, but you're not going to get it because I don't like being called hey dude." Okay, so I'm just saying be sensitive to the audience that you pitch to. Make it more generic. Probably even closer to that. Yes, Graham's confessing he's a decade older. No, 5 years older. Correct, Graham? Early retirement, mate. I hope we don't lose our jobs. The government's taken away any incentive to, hasn't it? Anyway, I'm
thinking a little bit younger. I only by a year or two.
No, I'm having a dig, Graham. You're young at heart, regardless.
I'd like to think I am.
You are.
Okay, I need to answer April's question. It's important. You're not selling a part of the project, okay? You are pitching to an investor to invest in your business as a whole, okay? It's an extension on the business plan, if you will. You want people to invest in your business as a whole. It's not just a part thereof, okay? So you as an individual need to pitch to an investor to invest in your business. And because this is a university assessment, it requires an individual assessment. So everybody in your group, it just so happens that everybody in your group needs to do a presentation on the same thing. So just goofy going back to back against teammates. Yes, that's right, which is why I said do not refer to your previous teammates. Okay,
Other people don't exist.
Yeah, that's it. So essentially,
can I add a comment on that too, Charles?
Yep.
My recommendation is that before all your pitches, your team actually gets together to at least be across other people's pitches, so that you're not saying something conflicting. That might be a good idea.
Yes. You can practice if you go to your virtual rooms. I have set up.
No, Melissa.
Let me just reset.
That's called plagiarism.
So we've got these practice rooms, 1, 2, 5, 3, and 4. Feel free to utilize these 5 practice rooms to, well, check your tech and to basically just practice doing your presentations. It is an individual, yes. It is an individual. So let's say, for instance, hypothetically, you were in a team, you had this idea and the rest of the team bailed and you think it's a great idea and you want to keep going. You're going on your own. So you told the team to bugger off. This is my project. I'm putting it forward. This is my pitch. No, it won't be similar. It absolutely would not be similar. Because remember, an investor, when it comes to investing in startup companies, investors invest in the people more than they do the product, okay? So they're investing in you. So what is your personality? What is, even though the thing that you're trying to sell is the same thing in this assessment, how you go across selling it is completely different. The best way to sell a product is to sell your personality first. If somebody likes you, the chances are you're going to sell something to them a lot better. Okay? Yes, essentially, yes, Zani. It is yourself. You use your personality to promote your product. Okay? in marketing circles, they would say for you to match and mirror. I don't subscribe to that theory myself. Match and mirror is where you analyze the person or people who you are trying to sell to, and match and mirror their personality and their decorum, if you were. I don't subscribe to that. It's more important for you to be authentic. So if you're having a pitch to, say, the more stereotyped business people with dry personalities, they may be deliberately trying to invest in companies that aren't like them. So if you did a match and mirror in that circumstance, it may not work as well as what you would hope. It's best for you to utilize your own personality to sell the product that you're trying to sell. It's the authenticity. It's what sells more than just a well-practiced and well-rehearsed and robotic presentation. Okay. Does that help? Okay, everybody's chatting around there. Does that help you, Zani?
Yes, thank you, Charles.
Yep, cool. All right. Can we aim our product for a specific group of target demographics just for the pitch? I would see you've already done that exercise of targeting your original target market. This is where, well, for the undergrads, I use Discord for this example, where they targeted gamers. So if your product was targeting gamers, then I would utilize that sort of background in order to get it across. Okay. I don't know what Kane's going on about Boys in the Hood. Haven't heard them in a long time. Okay. Everybody's just going back and forth now in there.
Not Liam's starting at this time.
Yeah, I know. He's like, it's always Liam, you know? He always starts these things.
Something about drive-bys.
I meant drive-by pizzas. What were you thinking?
Drive-by pizzas, drive-through.
Drive-by pizzas. Okay.
What I was trying to say is, you're in competition, but friendly competition with your peers. No undermining, no, chopping them off at the knees or nailing appendages to floorboards. We're sociable and whatever. But you are in effect in competition in your pitch. It's a unique your pitch, not your team's pitch.
That's it. So if you feel that a team member did better or worse than yourself, try to put that outside of your mind, because you're focusing on yourself this time. This is about you and your performance and your grade. Drive-by.
Just on that point, you're actually focusing on us and the rest of the audience, because you're imagining we're the investors. So as an earlier comment, if you focus on yourself, you're going to make yourself nervous and or stammer occasionally. If you can take the you out of the presentation by concentrating on your client, it'll take a lot of weight off your shoulders. You'll become a little bit complacent, because it's no longer, how do I look? How do I sound? How am I coming across? You're looking at them, you're looking at the body language or the response. Focus on that. If you focus on the client, you lose sight of yourself, and it's really good, because it takes all that pressure away.
Yeah, that's a different context to what I meant, but yeah, that's right. Melissa wants to know what a drive-by is. Well, a drive-by is when you drive past somebody and you shoot them out the car window. That's a drive-by. A drive-through is somewhere where you go through, drive around and stop at a fast food restaurant to pick up your order through a window. They're two different things. One, you shoot people, and one, you pick up your food. But
I'm not really sure what sort of circles you keep.
Well, I'm really. You started this. It's Irish, and now it's Chicago, which a lot of it was Irish anyway.
Blame it on he who is close to my age.
So in the business,
deflect there, Liam.
What's that?
You're trying to deflect.
I am indeed. I'm trying to deflect and reflect.
Minister, that's how business used to be done at certain point in history in the 1920s. I forget the era that they call it, with the alcohol, etc. That is how business used to be done.
It's called prohibition.
Yeah, prohibition, that's it. Yeah, so prohibition error, that's how it's done.
Just on a side story, can I reiterate some truth from my past? Some of you may have heard it in another course. It's a true story. When I worked in, I used to work in what used to be the Soviet Union. And the only place you could get a good Guinness, in my eyes, was the airport or a place called Devar 22, which was, I suppose you'd call it a nightclub. And when I used to frequent it, on occasion you'd hear gunshots because their whole system was falling over with perestroika and glasnost. And on one occasion, there were gunshots outside Devar. And I was there with my colleague Grigory Babalian, and I said, oh, we've got to go out and do something. And he really taught me something well. He said, Liam, they're just doing business. Leave them alone. That's how they do their business. You and me, we send emails. We only had email back then, or we use a telephone. Them, they use bullets. They sort it out. They're not after you. Leave them alone. And I thought, what a great bit of feedback that was. He was really street smart. But I don't know why I mentioned that, apart from the drive-by shootings. It just seemed relevant at this point of time.
No, I've always been a good boy. I don't involve myself in the seedy underbelly of society.
I've always been a good boy, Charles, but I surround myself with all walks of life. It gives me an appreciation for diversity and different ways of.
Yeah, I appreciate for that, but sometimes you might have to just put some blinders on to walk past situations. Either way, so that's drive-by shootings. You have now been educated at the University of Canberra of what a drive-by is. Good boys don't have fun. I don't know about that. Come on now. Depends what type of fun you're talking about. If it's drunk, yeah, yes, that's it. All right, so that's pretty much the time that we had for an hour. Liam has to go to his next tutorial, I believe. Is there any questions that you have for us now? It's best to ask me now in the tutorial than by email, because this is your time to ask questions. Oh yeah, that's a good saying. I like that one.
Oh God, I think I'm going to leave for my next tutorial before I completely incriminate myself. But anyway.
Oh, I know some of your stories. I can testify.
They're all lies, people.
That's it.
Take care, folks. Cheers.
Thanks, Liam.
See you later.
All right, so what I might do is start these breakout groups as well. Hopefully that worked. All right, so did I turn on the ability to change groups? Allow attendee switch groups, so I have to update that. All right, so is there any questions that anybody has at the moment? Like I said, it's best to ask now. With another subject, I've been inundated with questions just like a day or two before the assignment's due. You know, quite frankly, we've stopped answering a lot of those because we just can't keep up. Now is the time for you to ask questions. I'm spending additional time with you now for you to ask your questions or to seek clarification. Feel free to ask now, please. This picture's due week 13 during your tutorial time. You select your time on this page here. So our regular tutorial time is 1:30. So it's due this time. So you put your name in here and I will grade you, or if you do it down here, from my understanding, Demuth will grade you there, which looks like it's almost out anyway. Okay, so that's on week 13. Hamid.
Yeah, hi Charles. So I was just wondering, what should we include in the contents of table? Should we follow the criteria? I'm talking about the group report 2, the business plan. So what should include? What should we include in the table? Should we just follow the criteria? So should we follow the assessment components 1, 2, and 3 exactly, or the templates?
The templates is probably the best one because the criteria doesn't always match with. Because sometimes, yeah. Well, essentially, yes and no. I mean, the criteria is loosely based on a generic thing. What I guess I'm encouraging you is that if, all right, let me get a
Sure. Yeah.
thing up.
There are some guides, templates.
Yeah. So they've actually been taken offline, but I'll quickly go through one. So essentially, this kind of thing is generally pretty good. No, executive summary, obvious, opportunity. Okay, that's not really put it very well. Let me get another one, see if that's better. So that was a very generic one. Software business, let's have a look at that one. All right, so yeah, okay, yeah, this is good. So executive summary, of course, the company's summary. See, I can't remember the correlation between the two. But essentially, my point is that you do have the criteria for your business plan. That criteria as a subject heading may not be the most appropriate. So feel free to label it something different in your business plan. Okay, so students have a tendency of going here like 1, 2, 3, 4, as in this is the assessment component 1, this is assessment component 2, this is assessment component 3. It doesn't actually always work out that way because assessment component could actually be several things in here. Okay, I probably should have looked at this assessment component to actually clarify that assignments. All right, so business plan, UG's usually what I'm dealing with, but either way, it's the same for the business plan. So, okay, mission statement, that should only be a sentence or two. See, background there, like how would you word a background in terms of business plan? It needs to fit, okay? Product or service description. So this is a clear case. If I see a heading saying product or service description, that's not appropriate in a business plan. Because, well, firstly, do you have a product or do you have a service? For me, I've been educated or somewhat in marketing. Product means anything that anybody is prepared to make a value exchange for. So product description is the most generic and general one that you could there. So therefore, I'll just say product description, or a description of our product, or instead of calling it product, call it whatever it is that you're selling. Description.
Yeah.
Right. So this is quite academic. So quite often we'll get this as headings. So you'll be right in that, and I won't be too harsh on it because that's pretty much what we always get. But I would argue that what I would appreciate and award a greater grade to those who make the effort to utilize a more correct heading for the headings within the document. Okay. It's one of those things that you won't get penalized too harshly just by doing this, but it is a business plan, so make it more business planning, if you will, for a poor choice of words. It'd be best that way. But but if you read any text about what goes in the business plan, these are all there. But I would ask you to make it your own. That is, attribute it to your own product or your own business, as it were.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so as long as you deal with this, it's fine. You'll be fine in the end.
Yeah, actually, BG students have slightly different criteria. Yes.
So you have additional criteria so UG, the G has additional criteria. Here we go.
Yeah.
So okay, you got all this stuff which was available to undergraduates last year. But you have these two things, discovery and market analysis. You also have to provide those two within your documents. Okay. That's in addition. That's what you have to do in addition to this, which is the same for UG. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, very clear. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Melissa wants to give me cake. Well, if you see me, I'm pretty chunky enough, so cake is probably not the best thing to bribe me with because I'll eat it and get even fatter. But if you are going to send me cake, I like mug cake. But unfortunately, I can't give you an HD for it because I'll get fired. But I do like mug cake. Reese wants to know identification of key personnel and organisational roles. Cool. Who are the key players in your organisation? So, well, once again, if you wanted to simply tick that box, you can go with a hierarchical structure within your organisation. So the key organisational roles is, your the board of directors, the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer, chief information officer. You get that gist. It's usually very hierarchical, top down. Okay, but you could also have some additional key personnel within your organisation, people who probably exist outside of the command structure of your organisation. So think of it as, you may have a key designer that works in your organisation who's key, who's very good and precise in what they do. They may not have such a flashy title such as chief technical officer, or they may not actually manage a lot of people or any at all, but that person or that role could be critical to your organization. So think of the Steve Wozniak versus Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was in the hierarchy. Steve Wozniak was just a guy who wanted to invent things. And Apple was founded based predominantly on his inventions. So you may have some key personnel in addition to your hierarchical structure that is of significance to your organization. Now, I may be in conflict with some other academics and lecturers with this next point. That is, I don't require you to place your name to an organizational role. So if your group leader, I'm saying that you don't have to put your group leader's name to the CEO's job position. You don't have to correlate that. I think it's kind of, it could lead to arguments. So you say, well, I want to be a CEO. Well, no, you can be the CFO. It's kind of immature. So I'm just trying to eradicate that immature argument for you. You don't have to do it. You can if you want to. But it makes no difference to me, to be honest, either way, as long as you identify the role itself. You practice, yeah. Well, if you're married, you practice, your life practice is what your wife tells you. So hopefully I did answer your question there. Who asked that one? Reese. Did I help you out, Reese? Yep. Cool. Oh, yeah, you did say thank you. All right. Yeah, perfectly welcome. So as a disclaimer, I suppose, if I'm not clear properly. What aren't you clear on, Ganesh? Organizational roles. All right. Let me actually open up Word here. How do we do this in Word again? It's been a long time since I've done a hierarchical thing. We have to insert smart arts, I think, is it? And we need a hierarchy. No, let's get the basic one. All right. So this is what we call a hierarchical structure. Okay. So you might have the chief executive officer as who's in charge of the entire operation of the business. Then you may have the chief operations officer. And under him or her, why did that do? Had I add shape properly? After? Nope. Oh, I don't know how to do it. All right. So essentially, you could have the chief technical officer, the chief information officer. If you had separated those roles, chief financial officer. You may have, there's no chief there. I can't remember. But under them, if I can actually get this, there may be middle management. Can that go below? Yeah. So the middle management, so you might be a manager of, he's manager of finance. And then you could also have under the CFO, you could still have a manager of finance. if it's a particularly complex organization, and so on and so forth. So that's a very rigid, what's now considered to be rigid, hierarchical structure as in terms of your organizational roles. So the chief executive officer has the role of overseeing the entire business. The chief operations officer generally deals with the operations and logistics of an organization. So these are key organizational roles. And ironically, I'll put one of these here. I might put him down here or her down here. And this one could be, actually, let me just type it here. Could be, say, designer. This designer could be somebody who is really good at their job, okay? And you may not be, the business organization may not exist or be in as good of a position if this designer is not working for them, or maybe even be a consultant, okay? So what happens quite often, you can engage a consultancy to help design your product, okay? That's key to your organization. So designer could be your chief marketing officer, okay? So your designer could be under your CMO, or even next to it. That might work. But essentially, if somebody could be like freelance outside the organization, or could even be freelance within your organization, if you do have somebody like that. So, but what I'm saying as well is that you don't need to put, say, you got your CEO, and then you don't need to have Charles there or anything else like that. You don't need to attribute your name to it, okay? But we need to know the organizational roles. So what roles or what types of employment exist within your organization, and if you have consultancy, who are they as well? Does that help you, Ganesh? This is only one type of organizational structure, by the way. There are many other types. Yeah, fantastic. See, a picture always helps. Shreya.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify, when we are doing the SWOT analysis and the risks and the opportunities, we are doing it for the product in the entire market scenario, right? Where we discuss about the competitors and like similar products and stuff.
Okay, SWOT analysis. Okay, it sounds like you perhaps don't have a full grasp of what a SWOT is. So I'll go through it now for you, okay? Mm-hmm. But actually, insert a table. It's quite often done like this. Actually, let me just go back. SWOT. If I can type in properly, SWOT. All right, now I'll put my chart in. So a SWOT, you have your strengths. If I can spell strengths. I'm doing this because it's actually easier to describe in this. Opportunities. Yeah. I have a gaming keyboard and I cannot type on the gaming keyboard to save myself. All right. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, with this, these two here are internal. Let me color it. Can I color it? Okay. Oh, that's the text. Anyway, okay. These two are internal. That's internal to your organization. So within your organization, what are your strengths? Let's just say, most of us here are technology students. So let's just say we have technical skills. For instance, programming. You could be a designer. What else? You could be a project manager, say project. So you could have a lot of strengths in these areas, okay? They could be your strengths, and it's internal to your organization. This is what we possess. But what are our weaknesses? One weakness for your organization is you can't talk to people. Talk to people. Now, I mean that in more of a social type scenario, whereas you can't schmooze. We call it schmoozing. In Australia or in the West, we call it schmoozing. If you schmooze, the double O, isn't it? Schmoozing? No, it's not. Smooching. No, it's not smooching. Okay, schmoozing. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Schmoozing is smoozing. Schmoozing? Doesn't matter, schmoozing. So basically it's like schmoozing is when you're at an event, like a cocktail party, and you're networking, you're talking to people, trying to build your network, seeing what other businesses are doing, what other investors are doing. And if you're proficient in this skill, go into your competitors' designers or their programmers to figure out what they're doing, for instance. But that could be a weakness in, you can't communicate. So let me just change that to bad comms. Schmoozing. Oh, there we go, Graham. Yeah, I'm tired, mate. That is absolutely right. Yeah, that's how to spell it. So you may not be good communicating, and maybe I'll put bad speller. All right, that's a weakness. It's a bad speller, especially when you're doing it live. But in all seriousness, though, you can have other weaknesses from within your organisation that can be seen as weaknesses. Spell check is great. Yeah, I know. It is, isn't it? But other kinds of weaknesses, well, you could be missing a skill, like missing a specific skill that you require. Okay, so one specific skill could be accounting, for instance, like your accountant could have left. I'm just going through trivial examples. But these two are internal to your organisation. Okay, they're internal. They're within your closed doors or within your own circle of operations. That's in contrast to opportunities and threats. I'll change this color here, I guess. Opportunities and threats. So an opportunity could be competitor defaults. So your competitor could have went bankrupt, for instance. That's an opportunity for you. Or your competitor is having bad financial times. Not because they're selling bad products or the products that you were trying to, or the market you're trying to get into is bad. That just could be having bad financial management, etc. That's a good opportunity for you. Okay. A threat could be the inverse, for instance. It doesn't have to be, but threat is always the possibility of new competitors. Okay, that's always a problem. There's always a potential threat. Okay, another threat could be depends what it is. Like it could be environmental. What else is there? The CPI, depends on what you're dealing with. The consumer price index could actually be a threat to your business because you could be highly sensitive to the increase or decrease of the CPI. Trade agreements is a classic one. Trade agreements could bolster or diminish your business in a big way, particularly in Australia and the primary industries. Trade agreements could be detrimental to you, and subsequently tariffs. Tariffs could be. It's like Donald Trump putting in tariffs on Chinese imports, for instance, and then in response, trying to put tariffs on American companies. So that is also a threat. Okay, but these ones are external to your organization. These are internal and these are external. Quite commonly pictured in this manner in your business plan. Feel free to list it like this, but you will still need to elaborate. Okay. Does that who asked that question? Sorry.
That was me.
Did I help you?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So in the business plan, we are talking in the SWOT analysis section. We are talking about a business, and not much about a product. Did I get that
correct?
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So your business plan isn't okay. It's kind of. It's not the business plan is not about the product. The product exists within your business plan.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you can't have a business without a product to sell, like of some sort. So it exists inside it. So the business wraps around your product. Okay, so when you're articulating about the product itself, most of that actually goes into the product description, but we have so much more other detail we now need to cover in order to have a fully functional business. So all these things aren't necessarily about the product itself. Actually, most of this, what I see here, wouldn't be about the product. It would be about the business. The business plan is about the business, and within it has your product. Does that help?
Yeah, that makes so much more sense. Thank you.
2 thumbs up. All right. Any more questions? Hamid, yes.
Sorry, Charles, I've got too many questions today. Firstly, thank you for giving us the opportunity to ask you. I've got actually 2 questions. So the first one, under business plan, it's saying identify and describe all the products and services. We are actually, our product, basically, we're actually improving the Master Viewer. And there are a lot of competitors out there in the market. So should like, how many products should I explain? Because there are like hundreds and thousands of them.
Okay, so which are you referring to here?
I'm referring to AC3, business plan, product service description. Yeah, just the one under mission statement. Yeah, just that one. Yeah.
All the products to explain how they will be. Okay, I think you got perhaps this one a little bit confused. So this one here, okay, identify and describe all the products and services. That's what you are providing. I think in the first instance, in the first half of the sentence, describe all of the products and services. This first half, I don't care about your competition. This is what you have. So essentially you have one, that is the innovation that you've done the patent for. So describe it. That's what that first half is. And then describe how that product is going to be competitive. Okay, you don't need to describe everybody else's product. I just need you to describe your own and how is that going to be competitive in the market.
Yeah, very clear. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that makes more sense. I thought I'll be comparing the other services and products with ours, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of is, but do it like overarching. You don't compare it with this one or this one or this one. If you want to make a comparison, then just choose the popular one, for instance. But yeah. Okay, right. So that's question 1. Question 2.
Last question. So under the market analysis AC2, just the one above.
Yes.
Yeah. So the 1, 2, 3rd. So the third one, identification of segments. So does it mean the identification of the customers? So our product, like to whom we are providing our product? Is it?
Yes. Who's going to pay you for it? Essentially, for the most part, the easiest way to identify these things is who's going to pay for your product. I'm not sure if this one or my other class, they're doing like a smart shopping trolley. So what is the market segment? Who is going to be, okay, your graduate, you've also got that also exists up here within your market analysis as well. So for you also need to identify all of the market segments and tell me which one you're targeting. So what was your product again? It was a
we are improving a version of Master Viewer. The Master Viewer virtual reality. I'm just going to put it on the chat. So we are improving it. So we are adding some components to this device.
Master. Yeah, let me just make sure. Yeah, so you're doing a VR thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. All right, so that's perfect. That's easily to identify. So virtual reality has a market unto itself, but within that they have segments. So virtual reality. So who uses virtual reality? So you got gamers, which would be my first instinct. Mm-hmm. You'll also have science, for instance, because NASA uses VR to train astronauts to handle the space station. Mm-hmm. Well, that's one particular type of, or that's actually more engineering. Then you also have science to, I don't have a science one off the top of my head right now. Yeah, growing definitely. Defense is huge in VR. They're investing quite a bit in VR at the moment. Education is utilizing VR. So there you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So within let me get word up. Within the, how can I do this in Word? Let me get paint.
No.
All right, so essentially you got a market, okay? And within the market, you have segments, okay? And well, I've identified 5, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for the graduates, you've been asked to identify these segments. So what is that one? What is that one? What is that, and that, and that, okay? After which, how do I free drawing this thing? So after which, you need to identify which one you're targeting. So let's just say you're targeting this big one, for instance. So you've identified all these segments, and you're targeting this one. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
So once you have that, then you go on from there. So once you have your target market, and that's worded specifically. You have a target market, which means you can target your promotional activities to. You can target that particular market specifically. Now, with the undergrads, I used Discord as an example. So there are many different types of online communication platforms. And at the time Discord became popular, there was a competitor called TeamSpeak. Now, Discord targeted gamers the same as TeamSpeak, and they had one of their most primary selling points to their target market of gamers was that they provided the servers themselves for free. So they went into the same market, but they targeted gamers in a far more pronounced manner, in a far more preferable manner to the gamers. But now Discord has left, is no longer targeting gamers, they're targeting the entire market. So that's why we have an initial, this is what we call the initial target market. And once you've been successful there, that's when you can target the rest later on after your success. So that's why we say, you don't target the world, you target a segment. Now what is the demographic that you want to target? So we section it off the entire market, we target one specific section or demographic, and we go into business, and we worry about the rest later.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Yeah, if you could just scroll down again to the criteria, please. So what is the difference between identification of segments and target marketing and segment identification? The one under, the one underneath. Yeah, I feel like they're the same thing basically.
Yes. So identify target markets, which is what we just did. So okay, identification of segments. Sorry. So where was that? So identification of the segments is the whole pie. Right?
Yeah.
And then we want to know which one are you targeting?
The specific segment that we are targeting.
Yes. Yeah. So we want the whole picture, and then which one you're targeting.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. Thank you very much, Charles and Graeme. Okay.
Yep. All good.
Yeah.
No worries.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Any more questions? I'm here. I'm available. No more questions? All right. I have set up a series of breakout groups. If you wanted to utilize those to continue with your business plans, feel free to do so. Apart from that, I can't really hold you to anything. So if there's no more questions, thank you for coming today. And I guess we will talk next week.
Charles?
Yes?
So the next one, the initial market assessment is the assessment for the target market. Is that right?
Initial market assessment. Okay. I have to word this right because I may not be, I should be marketing yours, but so we need to identify the market. Then we also need to assess it, as in, so you've identified the market in all its segments, but then assess it. So what is the market value? So okay, I think it's up here, actually. So here, so the market assessment. So the size of the market and the value of the market. Okay, so size of the market. So for instance, well, I'll go back to shopping trolleys for a minute because it's a small market. So if you were selling a unique type of shopping trolley, what is the market for shopping trolleys? So you'll have the supermarkets, you'll have the discount stores, you will have the departmental stores, and there are a few other ones there. So you have the entire market. How many out of that? How many potential clients would you have? Okay, you need to identify the size of it. So how many potential customers? In terms of trolleys in Australia, it's actually quite small because you have your Coles, your Woolworths, your Big W, maybe your Grace Brothers or Myers, etc. So it's actually quite small. So I wouldn't expect more than a dozen or two. That would be the size of the market. Now, the value of the market, however, is how much as a whole would they spend on purchasing trolleys per year. Okay, so size of the market is how many potential clients or customers exist within the entire market, and what is the value of that? That is, how much do they spend per year buying that particular type of product or service? Okay, so you need to analyze the market, but of course, you also do need to provide more detail on your target market. So we need to know the whole. Yeah, I understand this is worded in this sort of fashion, but essentially, we need to know the whole picture, and we need to know about the target segment. Okay, so you need it is good knowledge to know the entire circle of the industry that you're getting into in terms of the market, and what is the section you're trying to carve out and target. So we need to know the whole, and then we need to know the segment, essentially. So irrespective of what you word it, that's generally what we're after. Okay, so identify and analyze the whole, and then just talk about the segment. So in terms of effort or quantity, if you will, a little bit about the whole versus a little bit more in depth with a smaller bit. So I expect more depth in the segment than I would the whole. Does that help you at all? Yep. No worries. Okay, there we go. Any other questions at all? This is one of the sessions where I won't go until you stop asking me questions.
Hey guys, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, brother.
Hey bro. Time flies. We are already in week 10. Oh my
Zani
god.
is still there, still in the main room.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe they'll be coming now. Yeah, some of the assignments coming now. Man, it's crazy. Like, You know, like I feel like last week was the first week, and now we're the 10th week. Bro, this times like the time here in Australia just goes really quickly. Week 10, like 4 weeks to finish the semester. That's crazy. Anyways, well, if you guys don't mind, I'll just sharing my screen just to talk a little bit. Share my file screen. Second. Yeah. So here is the elevator pitch sheet. I put our name, our group name here, so we can present first in the second tutorial. When I woke up, I saw the announcement. I was like, okay, let's just put our names here. Then we can exchange who wants to go first, second, third, and last. So Yafi said he wants to go first. Yeah.
I'm fine with this one. It's fine. I'm fine with this one.
You're fine with it this way?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. Yeah, sure. Daniel.
Yeah.
Hello, Zani. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So I was just saying, when I woke up, I saw the announcement to add our names. I was like, okay, let's just put our group name first, so we can just go first in the second tutorial at 1:30 and get done with it. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Otherwise,
yeah. So I was just saying, you know, we can change the order, of course. If one of you would like to go first, I'm happy. So yeah. So please just write your. Should we write our last names? He didn't say this. So maybe our first name and student number is enough. I think so. Simon Rao wrote it as her Ariba. Please, guys, if you are not happy with your slot, feel free just to change it to any of these. Okay. So yeah, that will be on the 29th, I think. With regards to the assignment, yeah. So as you guys heard, yeah, that's good, Ariba. As you guys heard,